Most important thing through the meditation is when we come into a seated position, we're going to start in standing today, but feel free to sit on a chair or any other way that you're comfortable. Using a prop can be lovely to lift the low spine. And just remember, meditation is not about silencing the mind or needing to never move the body. It's an exploration. So if your mind is busy, we'll be in a little dance with it, coming back to a focal point. And if your body is really, really, really uncomfortable, it's better to make a quick adjustment, dive back into the technique, as opposed to just suffering with that pain. So we'll start in a standing place to invite just a little bit of motion in your body. To come with your feet hip distance apart or so, can be wider for more comfort. Take a deep breath in through your nose, inhale. Open mouth, exhale, 2, let it go, optional sound or sigh. If it feels comfortable for you, allow your eyes to relax partway or completely closed. And from there, with your breath in the background, allow for a few little circular motions in your shoulders, up, back, and down. And gradually pause, shoulders onto your back body. Inhale to sweep, arms rise forward and up in space. Exhale, bend your knees just a little bit. Take your hands to your thighs, press your sitting bones back, collarbones broad for cow stretch. Exhale to round, coil in, chin to sternum. Inhale to press back, open, expand. Exhale to round. Continue a few rounds undulating your spinal column. And final cycle with inhale to expand, open. On your exhalation, once again, round in. Use your next inhale to root, rise back up to the sky. Circle the arms high, interlace your hands above you, create little wrist circles. Float your fingers and wrists down. Inhale again, sweep the arms back up to the sky. Interlace your hands opposite way from before and create again little circles. From there, inhale to expand the arms open to the right and left. Create a few circular motions here. Breath still fluid in the background, moving forward in space for the circles. Gradually switch, moving backwards in space. Slowly release the arms by the side of your body. Start to shake everything out here. Fingertips, forearms, shoulders, torso, hips, legs. Just in case you've been a little more static today. If it's comfortable for your knees, disconnect your feet from the earth. So it's a full body hop here. Optional little sound to release tension. Deep breaths. Exhale, it's a little pause, soften the gaze, receive anything you're aware of here, sensations, tingles, warmth. And from there, gradually make your way to a supportive seat in your own body. And again, use a prop if you need to uplift your spine a little bit more, especially if you're rounding with the back. And remember, you can sit on a chair, both feet anchored. If you are using a chair, create just a bit of room from the back of the chair and your own back, if that's comfortable, knowing you can always lean back. an opportunity to start with activation of your abdominal muscles. And slowly allow your eyelids to relax, partway closed or completely closed. Settle your hands either out wide or one palm at center, the other palm lands there.
Okay.
And check in if there's any holding through your upper shoulders, mouth, jaw, inviting a bit of softness. And from there, start to attune to the way that your breath is flowing through your physical body. And take note of the belly center area, ribs. Might also feel the movement of air at the collarbones, tips of your nostrils. And simply allow yourself to observe the breath. And to create a little bit more anchoring for your mind. As you notice your body taking in an inhalation, silently say to yourself, I am breathing in. And with the exhalation, say to yourself silently, I am breathing out. Continuing this rhythm with every inhale, I am breathing in. And with every exhale, I am breathing out. Honor your own speed here, depending on how your breath is moving today. And at one point, as you continue this technique, you might find that you've lost this little repetition and focus on the breath. When you become aware of that, kindly come back. And even if this happens many, many times, when you have the awareness that you're no longer focusing on your breath, repeating these words, gently come back. Check in where your attention is at. If you're somewhere else in another thought narrative, come back to the focus of watching your breath, repeating, I am breathing in, I am breathing out. Continuing here a little bit longer. And check in if your physical body is experiencing tension. See if it's something that you can sit with and be with. If you find that it's moving towards an experience of pain, always the opportunity to make a very small adjustment and come back into the technique. I am breathing in. I am breathing out. Once more, check in with your focus, attention. If you're in another experience of your mind, not a big deal, simply an opportunity to notice, then come back to watching your breath, repeating those statements internally to yourself. And very gradually allow these internal statements to slowly fade into the background. And take a moment to observe and notice what's present for you in the experience and texture of your natural breath. And also what's happening in the physical body, in the realm of the mind. And if you find that you do need a conscious adjustment for added comfort, go ahead and move to better support your body. And from here, moving into a technique known as a sensory meditation. So in this process, we allow the focal point to float and move around as opposed to being one thing. Start to notice what captures your attention most. It might be the awareness of your breath for one moment. Then it might shift to the warmth of sunlight on your skin if you're sitting by a window and the sun is out. It might be a sound. It might be a thought. It could then shift into a sensation in your body and then move into a smell or a sound again. So even though the focal point is moving, whatever is your mind's eye main focus for that moment, let it be an opportunity to completely absorb. It might last for an instant or longer before it shifts. And continuing to explore, noticing what is capturing your focus most. If you do find that you begin to dwell for a longer period of time on just one thought stream or narrative, bring your attention back to noticing what else is available through your senses. Continuing here a little bit longer, honoring the movement that is part of life. Where is your focus? What sense is drawing you in most? Hearing, smell, tactile sensation, sound. And when it shifts, moving to the next one, fully absorbing for however long before it shifts again. Once more, check in if you're absorbed in thoughts, past, future, worry, excitement. See if you can come back to noticing your senses. And staying with this technique for several more minutes. And very gradually invite the sensory meditation to recede into the background. Focus on your physical body once more, feet on the ground or sitting bones on the earth. cushion. Length from your low back to the top of your head. And take in a deep, full breath through nose or mouth. Exhale out, letting go of any tension that's built up. And in this pause, take note of what's going on for you right now. Is there more easefulness or more awareness of tension, more energy or more fatigue? Maybe somewhere in between. How's the state of your physical body, your mind? What's present in the texture of breath and emotions? Gently either connect your palms in front of your own heart space or plant one palm at center of heart, other hand on top of that one. And to acknowledge yourself for carving out this time. Also to affirm each other's company in the virtual space. This opportunity to practice, to build the muscle of awareness, of mindfulness for the sake of more clarity, more empowered choice. Gently bow your head to your own heart space. Honoring your wisdom, your dedication. Namaste. And take your time to stretch out your body. Make any movements that you need.